Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!
Are we recording? Oh shit, yeah we are. Okay, right, great.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a coffee and I'm ready to go, so.
Yeah, me too. Pumpkin spice.
Latte, iced latte.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
Back once again, always faithful. Madison's not, so no him.
He's not. No, he's not. He's got a dinner. I shouldn't talk shit, to be fair, because I missed one for a family dinner and now he's missing one for a family dinner, which is fair. It's just a shame that he misses out on what is probably like, we've gone from having nothing to really talk about to like
To a lot.
A lot has happened in the last week. And what is probably most bizarre is that we should start with a game, I guess. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't serious. I didn't know until about 10 minutes in that we were playing 3 20-minute periods rather than
me either.
halves. And some of the
It took me until they first said
it.
it. Like the commentator was like, "Okay, this is the first of 3 20-minute periods," and I was like, "Excuse me, what?"
I mean, there was someone on Twitter who was posting like half-time after 20 minutes. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
We're not doing a 40-minute game. It was kind of a cool way of doing it, I suppose, because they'd only do drinks breaks anyway. Like, it's still pretty hot in Italy, so they are going to do the drinks breaks and stuff. But, yeah, it was an interesting game, let's put it that way. So we played Novara at Milanello, our training ground. It was the first run out for the lads. A lot of them are away. Like, a lot of the main guys are on international duty, and also you've got Romagnoli and Musacchio who are out injured anyway. And therefore it was a bit of a cobbled together lineup, I guess you'd say. The official Milan account tweeted a lineup an hour before kickoff or just before, and then we lined up in a different way. So that implied
Totally different.
That implied that Pioli was just like, throw whatever out there.
Yeah.
But we won 4-2. We went 2-0 down within 15 minutes, which wasn't good. I didn't see too many overreactions, but I jokingly tweeted, "Get Ranić back on the phone." But yeah, really, I think you can't read that much into that. We were playing Teo at centre-back, and all right, yeah, first goal, bad set piece to concede. The second goal, lovely spin and finish. But then after that first interval, things started to look pretty good. We won 4-2, 2 goals from Paqueta, goals from Calabria and Laxalt as well. So 3 things from the game. We won't delve into too much detail on it because it is still a meaningless preseason friendly at the end of the day, but just from what we saw. So the first thing for me, Kalulu played the first 40 minutes at right back, and he looked pretty good, in my opinion. You know, I'm not going to say he was exceptional. He was by far the man of the match, but he looked good. He looked like the player in what was a pretty youthful starting 11 that had the most experience. He looked composed. He looked good technically. He's a real size. Like, he's very physical. He's a big right back, and you can see why he can shuffle in at centre back if needed. But yeah, again, the composure was what stood out for me for someone so young. And it seems like we might have abandoned our right back chase. You wonder if perhaps they've started to have a look at him in training and they've realised that we've got a real gem on our hands here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. Literally, the first thing I did when I woke up was watch that game. It started at 8 o'clock in the morning for me. I woke up at 7:50, and I was like, "Oh, we got a game right now." So it's a little hazy, to be honest. I've had an eventful morning, but I remember Paqueta obviously scored 2 goals. I feel like his first touch wasn't too hot.
It was
Ibra
really
had an assist, right? But other than that, he didn't look that great. I don't know. I mean, everyone just kind of looked like
rusty. With the word,
that's probably the word. Yeah.
Well, that's where we should be.
Makes sense. It's the first game back after vacation.
You don't play like Pep's Barcelona first game back, do you? Especially with so many missing. Like, you know, Teo's playing centre back with Laxalt as the left back. Everyone's just confused with who's going.
Well, and then we brought on Robeck, and I don't know what formation we were in.
Yeah, well, we seem to go 2 up top. Kind of. He was dropping in a lot as well, but he was one of the guys that I was going to highlight. He looked very good. He looked very good. He was the guy who looked the man of the match. It's a shame he didn't get a goal. He did score to make it 4-2, but it was ruled out for offside. but then the replay showed that it probably wasn't him who was offside when he put the ball in. It was something in the build-up. That was when Teo passed it when he could have shot. And yeah, I don't know. That was a weird one. He didn't look offside to me, but he looked very good, technically good. Again, a size. There were shades of Leao in there from what I saw in terms of him being a kind of tough to get off the ball.
Is Leao on international duty or did he play?
No, he's away with
That's what I thought.
Portugal
Okay.
under 21s. So yeah, we were missing quite a few players. As you say, he played 40 minutes. I think he played the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, he did.
And looked sometimes just so far above everybody else on the pitch. It was scary. And then sometimes looked terrible. Sometimes, he tried a first time pass or whatever with his back to defence and it was just not great.
Yeah.
But
he had a longer vacation than everyone else.
I mean, God, he's only been back since Monday, I think it was his first training.
Yeah.
So that's fair. And what was it? Paqueta, yeah. I'm happy to see him get 2 goals. I hope that he gives the management a problem this pre-season by playing well. Reasons for that are twofold. One, he could potentially prove that he's a valuable asset, and then we focus on playing Brahim Diaz. We'll come on to him as
he
a
arrived
winger.
today, didn't he?
He did. Or number 2, it means that if he's playing well in pre-season, he's a better bargaining chip for us in potential other negotiations. Again, we'll come on to that. But yeah, 2 goals today. He posted something on Instagram after the game saying, hoping for a blessed season for Milan, which it throws the cat amongst the pigeons a bit in terms of people who are saying he's unhappy and wanting to leave. I don't think that's the case. If it was up to him, he'd make his name here, but we will see. All of the reports still say that he's outside of the plans. We played him today because we had to. There wasn't an awful lot else to do, but yeah, it was what it was. 2 goals. Like I say, I hope he keeps doing his thing because it works out well for us in both avenues. So that was a 4-2, and then what have we got? We've got Monza on Saturday night, which is going to be on national television in Italy. So that's going to be worth watching.
You see Berlusconi has COVID-19?
He does. So I'm guessing he's not going to be there.
I would hope not. Yeah.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Hopefully he recovers. I mean, he's an old man,
definitely.
so it's a risky one. But
yeah, he's in his mid-80s, which I didn't realise.
Yeah.
And then his daughter and son have got it too. Barbara and Luigi have got it. Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier saying that, which is understandable. I mean, I think they still live in the same house, so that would make sense. But yeah, wish him a speedy recovery on that front. It could be that, for example, Mihailovic got it, and everybody instantly, for want of a better phrase, assumed the worst, given that he's obviously had treatment for leukemia, but he was asymptomatic. And is, just expected to make a recovery just fine. So you got to hope it's the same for Silvio. Sometimes you do get it and it's asymptomatic. And Isaac might have it as well. So we send our best wishes to Isaac.
I shouldn't laugh. He really might.
I know. He's going to get tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, so best of luck. I don't know what you said, to be honest. Good luck with the test, Isaac.
Yeah, hopefully he passes.
Yeah,
or
positive
fails?
in the negative sense.
Yeah,
negative in the positive sense.
Right.
So that was that preseason game done. Monza on Saturday night. That should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's a bit more of a test because Monza are a Serie B team with aspirations of playing in Serie A. They're going to try and lure some players. They might even get a couple on loan from us, given the good relations between Berlusconi, Galliani, and obviously Maldini, which I wouldn't be against at all. They're a club with big ambitions. I hope to see them in Serie A. Nothing against Monza at all. Lovely club, lovely place. It's actually the Monza Grand Prix this weekend, which I didn't realise. Obviously, fans can't go, so it's not a big deal. But it's 2 big sporting events happening in the place. And then after that, we've got Vicenza next week, which will just be a kind of a fine-tuning mission. Before, and we'll talk about fixtures now. I know everyone's desperate probably for us to talk about signings, etc. But we got to get
a lot to cover today.
Otherwise, people won't listen. If we just, blow our load in the first 10 minutes, then no one's listening at the fixtures. But so yeah, Europa League draw happened. They did So Milan, because we finished 6th, we go into the second qualifying round. And then there's a third qualifying round. And then there's a playoff round to get into the groups. So Milan have to win 3 one-off games to get to the Europa League groups. Second qualifying round. I said to my dad before, because they pre-drew it into groups, so we knew we'd face one of 3 teams in the second qualifying round. One of them was Shamrock Rovers. I said to my dad, if we get Shamrock Rovers away, forget it, that's it, done. Liquidating the website. Because it's Dublin, it's very close to me. Dublin is such an amazing city. It's such a charming little ground. And it would just be such an amazing story to, you know, hopefully tell the kids and grandkids, I saw Milan play at Shamrock Rovers. And then we got them. And obviously, everything's behind closed doors. And I looked into potentially getting media credentials for the game because England are on a certain level of alert to Ireland in terms of COVID. You have to quarantine for 14 days on arrival. So I'd have to set off now to make it, you know, maybe be okay for the game. On September the 17th. So gutted about that. You know, if it had been a season down the line, then I'd have been able to go and it'd have all been fine. But we should be fine with that. We'll preview it a little bit more. I'm hoping to get a guy on either from Shamrock Rovers or a fan for next week's, which will probably be edited in, just to talk a little bit about the game and what to expect, because they are an unknown quantity. But yeah, fingers crossed, should be fine. After that, we've got either Bodo Glimt or, God, I can't remember the name. This is pretty bad. It's Bodo Glimt or Zalgiris Vilnius at home. So again, hopefully, I saw someone reply to our tweet on that saying, oh, either of those teams over the one leg could be a banana skin for Milan. And I'm like, I hope not. If we're a serious team, we should be in the playoffs with that draw.
We should be.
There was nobody massive to get. There was nobody big. I mean, the playoff round is where it can throw up some real shocks. I won't go into details about it, but if you Google Europa League draw SempreMilan, there was an article about how in the playoff round, if there's 3 teams that are seeded above us, if at least 3 don't get knocked out, then we'll go into that playoff round unseeded, which means we could meet a Tottenham or a PSV or we could meet one of the more established European names, and that's where it might become a little bit of a worry. But cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's just get through these 2 games. And then the Serie A fixture list was pretty kind to us as well. I think it would be fair to say.
Yeah, the first 3 games we have 2 newly promoted sides in Crotone,
Yeah.
and who was the other? There's another.
Spezia.
And Spezia, yeah. It's Bologna, Crotone, Spezia, and then Inter. So we got Inter round 4 again. That'll be interesting to see.
It's funny as well because it's last season we had Udinese, Brescia, and Hellas Verona, and then we played Inter, and everyone was expecting us to win 3 out of 3, go into the derby with momentum. As it turned out, we lost to Udinese, won the next 2, lost the derby, then lost a couple more after that as well. But so I guess the main points of the fixture list are, and these are all on paper, so please don't shout in the comments about how, we've still got to win these games. I know we do, but all you can do is judge them as if we were predicting these games. Bologna at home is obviously the team that we beat 5-1 towards the end of last season. Crotone away, pretty good record against them. Spezia at home, but then obviously we've got Inter and Roma back-to-back, but that is our toughest part of the schedule if you're looking at it as a half-season split, because rounds 1 to 19 are then basically repeated for the second half of the season. After that, Udinese, Hellas Verona, then Napoli, Fiorentina. You could argue that's pretty tough, but Fiorentina have been battling relegation for a couple of years now. Then Samp, Parma, Genoa, Sassuolo, then Lazio, and then Benevento, then Juve, then Torino, Cagliari, then Atalanta. So last season, we talked about that murderer's row that we had where we had Roma, Lazio, Juve, and Napoli in 4 out of 5 games, and how it basically cost Pioli any chance of getting momentum early in his reign. We don't have that this season. The
it's
big
spread
games are
out pretty
spread
well.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
like it. Towards the end of the season, it can get a little dodgy, with
Atalanta away at the
Lazio.
final game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If we haven't secured it before the Lazio game, the second leg there, we might need to work some stuff because, like you said, Lazio, that's a tough one. Benevento should be easy, but we remember what happened last time we saw them. And then Juve, that's obviously Juve. And then there was another simple game, and then I believe Napoli, then Atalanta.
So we've got rounds 14 onwards. We've got Lazio, Benevento, then Juve, and Torino, Cagliari, then Atalanta. So for the end of the
last
season,
four can be a little tricky.
For the end of the season, because the fixtures are flipped, we'll have Lazio away, Benevento at home, Juve and Torino away. That's weird, back-to-back trips to Turin. Cagliari at home, Atalanta away. So, Lazio, Juve and Atalanta away in the last 6 games is not...
That'll be interesting.
Not ideal.
No, it's not.
But you've got to hope that we'll have shown our pedigree by then.
Right. We should be high enough up to where
that'll be 32
Benevento
games.
shouldn't be difficult. Torino shouldn't be difficult if we're performing. We obviously won 4-2 at Juve last time, but I really don't foresee another performance like that unless something incredible happens. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. That's always one you count on a loss, even if we've looked good recently. Atalanta's a tough one. It's going to be interesting to see how the season ends.
I guess all we can do at the moment, while we don't know what our squad is and everything like that, is look at the immediate future. And those first 3 games I'm happy with because you factored in the fact that we'll have that game away at Shamrock. Now, what team we'll take to Dublin, I don't know. It might be a mixed bag, or we might take a strong team just to get them some competitive minutes. We'll see. But to have that game on the 17th and then to have the next qualifying round on the 24th and then the next one on October the 1st, to have 3 on paper straightforward games to start the season means that there might be the opportunity to rotate. When we haven't got Lazio and Juve in our first 3, for example, and we have to put the Europa League to one side, we can work with it. We can work with it, especially if some of the rumoured signings come in. We'll have a nice bit of depth as well.
Yeah. Speaking of, who might those be?
Right. So where do we start? Let's start, shall we, with the guy who's arrived today and the guy who will probably be announced first. So Brahim Diaz. This is a guy that... Did we mention him last week?
I believe briefly.
Might have done.
Yeah, not in detail.
And I'll give him credit for this. Pianeta Milan were the first website.
You did mention that, actually. Yeah.
I think I did, yeah. And then it all came out that it was true, that it was Brahim Diaz. People were talking about James Rodriguez, Isco, stuff like that. I don't think it was ever going to be of that calibre. Not in a position where we already have Çalhanoğlu, who, love him or hate him, the management seems to have a lot of faith in. But yeah, Brahim Diaz is the guy. He can play attacking midfield or on either wing, which is good. He's coming on a dry loan. So all the rumours up until around 24 hours ago suggested that he was going to be coming on a loan with option to buy and that Real Madrid would have a buyback clause. However, in order to speed up the deal, it's since come out that it's going to be a dry loan and we're going to talk about that option to buy as the season goes on. You could say it's a Rebic kind of deal, where if he does well, we'll talk about buying him permanently. Milan News and Sky both said it won't be a problem if we want to buy him outright because we have such good relationship with Real Madrid. I think the player's obviously thrilled to be getting out. He only played at, I'll say 80 minutes or something last season for them in the league. So he didn't get an awful lot of playing time. So he'll kind of fancy testing himself elsewhere in a new league. This kid comes with a lot of baggage in terms of being very highly rated. I think Man City were gutted to lose him. I remember covering him a bit when I worked in my old job about Man City letting him go and about them putting an anti-Man United clause in there. And Barcelona were actually very much after him at one point as well. But he ended up going to Madrid for 24 mil in total. euros. So that's a substantial investment on a player that hadn't really played senior minutes for Man City at that point. I think Real Madrid still do value him as well to an extent, hence why they wanted to keep control of him. But the bottom line is he's here. No doubt we'll talk endlessly about a potential buyout as the season goes on. Are you happy with it?
Yeah, I think it's a position we needed in a very low-risk deal. It's a player who has somewhat of a high-profile name. Even though he hasn't played much, people know who he is. They're excited about it, and I think it's a win-win. I mean, it's a dry loan. If he doesn't perform, buy. If he does, great, we'll get him. But we need someone to play that position, and he's versatile. He can play other positions as well. So I'm all for it. I think it's great. I don't know if that's the answer going forward. We might need to get someone else there as well, which we could get onto. There was rumors of another person up front, but yeah, I'm happy with it. I think it'll be great. And we saw pictures of him in was it Malpensa or was he in Lynette?
Malpensa, Milan.
Yeah, he was at Malpensa Airport today, so we know he's here. We know it's a done deal. Everything but official. So happy.
Yeah, medical tomorrow and Friday. And probably contract signing on Friday, so we can expect an announcement on Friday night when I might have had a pint. It's always good to have to log back on. I'm happy with it too. I think, as you say, low risk, such a low risk deal. There's two sides to it, isn't there? Because it's like people would moan if we spent 30 mil on him.
Right.
If we went out and spent 25, 30 mil, it's like such an unproven player, blah, blah, blah. But then people are now moaning because we don't have an option to spend 25, 30 mil on him, which is kind of a bizarre thing to think. But
right. I mean, if he performs well, there's still, he's not going to go for more than 30 anyways, even if he's a world beater. I mean, unless he scores 70 goals this season, there's no way they're going to demand more than 30, No.
There's 100% leverage with this. I think what you need to look at probably, there's a player who's a couple of years ahead in terms of development, Oscar Rodriguez, who plays attacking midfield for Real Madrid. He went on loan to Leganés, who were a struggling sort of La Liga side last season. He scored 9 goals.
Last season, okay.
Yeah, last season. They brought him back, Real Madrid, and they've now sold him to Sevilla. Mm-hmm. But what that does show is that, let's say next season Brahim Diaz scores 9 goals, Real Madrid were still willing to sell Oscar Rodriguez. So they'd be willing to sell to us. The bottom line is they're going for the biggest names in the world. Exactly. So as you say, Brahim Diaz would have to have a phenomenal season. We hope he has a good season. But we got to use those relations with Real Madrid as well to get him at a reasonable price. I'm confident that we could do that. I trust Maldini and his charm.
Yeah.
So we'll see on that one. I'm happy with it. As you say, versatile, can cover attacking midfield, left or right wing. I think more right wing is probably what we're thinking because obviously we've got Leao and Rebic on the left. But it's good to have as well because, if we see Rebic or Leao, most likely Rebic is a backup centre forward. Then we could have Brahim as a left winger and back up to Leao, whatever it might be. The puzzle pieces kind of shift around nicely, so it's good to have him in. And might as well talk about the big one then. Genuinely, it still brings a smile to my face to think about it. I was so sceptical. I kept saying it ain't going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. We didn't even talk about it last week. That's how much of a non-issue it was.
Well, I think we've talked about it at least 5 or 6 times this past season where we've said he's going to enter. We're like, it's done. That's it.
Kept saying it's a shame, but I'll go on record right now before we just completely splurge here as saying I wouldn't have been devastated if he did. I wouldn't have been angry if he did, because whoever you supported as a kid, whatever, you've got to make the best decision for yourself financially, professionally, etc. But for those who don't know, what I'll just do is read out the things that Chilino said in an interview. Have you heard this, by the way?
Well, the thing that just earlier about Barca and United?
Yeah, so I'll read it out anyway.
Insane.
He spoke to Top Calcio 24 earlier. Mm-hmm. I know Beppe Marotta, who's the Inter director, really wanted Tonali and that Antonio Conte appreciated him, so I think his agent agreed terms with Inter. We knew that much anyway. He was determined and convinced that he was going to Inter, but all this time dragged on, and it was practically the start of the new season with still nothing happening. As soon as Milan showed a real interest, he did not want to listen to any other options. I also have historically good rapport with Milan, and we reached an agreement with Paolo Maldini very quickly. Milan have a good project. They are buying Tonali to rebuild and not to resell him. They give value to the money, not like those who give 30 mil in wages to earn season ticket subscriptions. Milan and Maldini's policy is courageous, to have a base for the next decade. The figures reported are correct, but we turned down 65 million from Barcelona, and United a dozen days ago offered 10 million more than Milan.
That gives me chills hearing that.
Mate, I've actually got goosebumps.
I do too.
This is a player who figured that he might have a chance to follow his dream, and he said, "That's what I want to do." So many pictures that have come out over the last week showing him as a kid in a Milan shirt, and the videos that he that came out a couple of years ago when he was saying, "I don't see myself like Pirlo, I see myself like Gattuso. He was the idol that I had growing up," and stuff like that. And for that reason, I always had a little thing in my mind, like, he could end up at Napoli if they sell Alan. You know, they might just flip that money. So I always thought if he worked under Gattuso, I wouldn't have been mad about that, either. But everything seemed to just domino into place. Friday, I think it was, things started coming out that was serious. Saturday, it got more serious. There was things about us agreeing with the player, talking to Brescia, but them not being keen on the idea of an option to buy rather than obligation. Then on Sunday, I was out. It was my day off, and I was out at a market town near where I live. And it just all started popping up. Fabrizio was saying it. PBP, Anto were all saying, "Here we go, it's done deal, bang." I was just like, I can't believe this. This has to be one of the biggest operations that we've blitzed in a long time.
Yeah.
Blitz, I talk about, let's get it wrapped up totally in 48 hours, and we know there's strong competition. I think Inter's problem at the moment is liquidity. Like, they have to sell to buy. That's become clear.
I think Morata said that too. He said that we had the deal, but we couldn't afford it at the time. We were waiting for changes, and they never came. So
how much of that is media crap? We don't know, because it sounds like they're going to be paying 12 mil gross to Arturo Vidal. So I think.
Well, that's significantly less than the Tonali operation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, depends. If they give him, he's 33, and so they're probably only going to give him a 2-year deal. But
I just think that to have your is he president or sporting director of Inter?
Marotta.
Yeah.
Sporting director or technical director. I think he's
something like that. He's one of the directors. But to have the director of your club come out and publicly say we could not afford him, that's bad. Like, there's an issue there. Like, how much damage did signing Lukaku and all those players last season cause them?
Oh, CEO, sorry. I really think there's a cat and mouse game going on in the media between the Inter directors and Conte at the moment. Won't spend too long on them. I'm sure, Inter podcasts are doing this kind of thing. But Conte obviously came out and gave that scathing interview after the Europa League final. But then it kind of became...
That was probably it, now that I think about it. Had they won that, they would have closed up the deal. Because they had it in April. They had that agreement.
And it would have gotten the extra revenue, etc., for winning the competition. I think the uncertainty regarding Conte's future certainly didn't help either. But Inter tied up the deal with him there, so you think him staying would mean that they use it. But I think Conte's asked for bigger names. In particular, that ran after the Europa League final. And then he had that crunch meeting with Inter, and the rumours were that Piero Celio and Marotta wanted him sacked and wanted to put Allegri in, and it was actually Zhang that wanted to keep Conte. All that stuff may be rumours, we don't know, but it might be like, well, they're saying you've chosen to go with your guy and he wants investment, but we don't have the money to give him. That Deloitte money, is it Deloitte or Deloitte? Whatever. The Money League thing came out earlier today. The accounts for 2018-19 don't read well for Inter at all. No. That's 750 mil in debt.
Yeah.
Debt.
a lot.
You know, they made in the 2018-19 financial year, they were made over 40 million losses. And then this is without factoring in the outlay on Lukaku and the last summer transfer campaign. So they're going shit or bust. You know, they really need to start winning things soon.
Yeah.
Um,
Great for us.
but Chelino, whenever you think about him, I don't like Chelino particularly because he used to own Leeds, who are our rival club, obviously, but he ran them in a disastrous way. I think they would agree.
Well, and you look at this,
but
and
he knows business, and if he says Milan have got a credible project, you know, if he will have been part of the talks where they said, look, this is our offer for Tonali. I know it's an option to buy, but we will be buying him. We see him as part of our midfield for the next 10 years. We see these guys as part of our team for the next 10 years. We've clearly given him something to go on for him to say that, and that's why it fills me with pride to hear him say something like that. He's a man well respected in Italian football. That's the bottom line. And for him to say such complimentary things, we'd be wrong to just shun it, you know?
And I think given the details that he has about United's offer that was 10 million euros more and Barcelona's it was just 65 million. I mean, that's for a side that just got relegated, 65 million is a lot, especially in Serie A. You know, we're not getting Premier League money here. They need that. So the fact that they turned it down for us, you know, to do us a favor because we had that strong relation because Tonali's a fan, that's incredible. And you look at a club like Barcelona who is in complete turmoil right now, about to lose Messi. The whole club's being reorganized. They're looking to build a strong foundation for the future, and they wanted Tonali, and they valued him at 65 million, and that's who we're getting. I mean, that's huge. If Barcelona wants a player like that, and they value him twice as much as we do, like it's a.
If you look at some of the players that Barca have signed, sort of young players that are developing into what they hope will be a golden generation, or the players that have come through, even like Ansu Fati and a couple of the midfielders they've got there. But as you say, if they saw Tonali as a guy worth 65 mil to build their midfield around, don't get me wrong, I think Tonali would be ridiculously well suited to La Liga. You know,
he'd fit in great. I think
he would be a perfect Busquets heir, to be totally honest with you. You could learn from one of the best registas in the world. But we've got him. Who cares?
He's ours. That's what I'm saying. Just the fact that he saw that and he's like, yo, Barca wants me, knowing that he could probably get, you know, twice, if not triple the salary at Barca, still start for one of the biggest clubs on earth. And he said, no, I want to go to Milan. That's the club I supported growing up. That's where I want to be. It's huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
it. Just to get into more specifically the finances, the 65 mil Barca offer thing's funny. I think Chelino might be just, you know, might be doing a little something there with the figure. I mean, he might be right, but I don't see a way that they actually rejected the 65 mil offer. It might be something daft like a 10 mil loan plus 20 mil option plus 20 mil plus 10 mil. You know what I mean? It could have been some weird offer like that. But yeah, so the specifics of the deal that we've got is a 10 million paid loan. The significance of that for people who think it's a high loan cost is that it essentially doubles up as the first installment of the total payment.
Exactly.
And also, we've managed to get it so that, according to Gazzetta, we've managed to get that so that is split over 2 years, which is just an absolute genius bit of business because that 5 mil on the balance sheet makes a big difference. It could be the 5 mil that seals us another deal like Chiesa, for example, which we'll come on to.
Yeah, well, I mean, bottom line, that's why we're doing these loan with options, is because when you have it as a loan with option, it doesn't go in the balance book. If you have a loan with obligation, the full sum is on the balance for that year. But with an option, it's split up. So, like you said, 5 mil on the balance books is nothing. You know, that's not hurting anyone's FFP.
I mean, to be fair, either way, it's amortized if it's an obligation, and it might be like under certain conditions or whatever. But a loan with option means that the 10 mil can be split, and then in one further, next summer, that 20 mil that is it 20 mil? Or is it 15? I can't remember.
The buyout? I thought it was
15 mil in it. 15. It's 15 mil.
Yeah, because then the extra 10 is bonuses. Because the total is 35, right?
Yeah. So the buyout then would be 15 mil. And because he'll have 4 years left on his contract at that point, that 15 mil will be spread over the next 4 years. And then the 10 mil bonuses, we'll see what they are. Might be to do with appearances, might be to do with us getting Champions League, whatever.
I'm sure that's what
and
it is.
then and then a 10% resale, which is absolutely fine, because if we sell him for 40 mil, it's 4 mil, 50 mil, it's 5 mil, 60 mil, it's 6 mil. But, it's
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be less than the loan fee, no matter what.
Mhm.
There's no way we sell him for 100 mil. I mean, that'd be great.
Capital gains, man. So yeah, right. Onto the nitty gritty then. Oh, and also might as well mention this point: 5-year, 2 million a year net salary, which works out around, with the taxes in Italy, 3.7 mil gross, which comes to 18.5 mil. So if you take a roundabout figure, then we're probably going to be paying somewhere between 45 and 55 mil for this total investment, when you factor in wages as well. For a midfielder who could potentially be the bedrock of our midfield for the next 10 years, 5 mil a year doesn't seem that bad to me.
No.
I'm
very happy with it.
Just a question that we got in here. Tommy Tank says, with the soon-to-be signings of Tonali, Bakayoko, so just to quickly update, we're still kind of in the same place as we were last week with Bakayoko. Seems loan with option is fine. We're just haggling on the option. Chelsea want 30 mil. We probably want it a bit lower. That's fine. It's going to get done. Everyone seems really confident that it's going to get done. We might even, because he'll have a year left on his deal if he goes back, be able to negotiate that option down during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So no worries about that. I think he arrives. So yeah, Tonali, Bakayoko and Diaz come in. Should Milan be excited for a top 4 finish, or should we stay grounded?
I'm excited. I think we could do it. I think it's going to happen. Yeah. It just, you look at the form of how we ended last season. You see the way the team is. It's a continuation of the project. There's no real restart of anything this time. We have a pretty good schedule as far as the spacing of the tough games. We're getting a stronger team by the sounds of it. I just don't see why we don't improve at least a little bit. I mean, if we don't secure a top 4, we're going to be fighting for it till the last day. I don't think we're ever going to be out of it.
It's still tough to tell. There's over a month left in the market. What I will say at this point is Bakayoko and Tonali as a backup tandem to Benacer Kessié is frightening.
Perfect.
It's very frightening. It means that we've got two perfect pairings, and they can interchange. We could play Tonali Benacer. We could play Kessié Tonali and have Tonali more creative. There's plenty of options on that front. And it means we're sorted for all 3 competitions. We're going to play over 50 games if we reach the Europa League groups. That's fine. However, what I will say is there are a lot of people getting very carried away about Scudetto, that kind of thing. We haven't signed a player for the starting 11 yet. That's one thing we haven't done. We've essentially probably signed 2 backups in Bakayoko and Tonali, if they both arrive, touch wood they will, and a backup in Brahim Diaz.
I don't think he'll be backup.
I hope he breaks in and starts.
I think he will. I mean, you just look at his competition, Salamakers and Castillejo, no offense to them, but I don't think that's a very difficult.
I think early in the season, our starting 11 won't look loads different. There's definitely potential for Tonali to snatch that starting spot. There's potential for Bakayoko to do it too.
They might actually start the season, just given the fact that we have the Shamrock Rovers game and then potentially the next game and potentially the one after that. All these like minor Europa games. If it depends, I think it behooves us to field a stronger lineup in those and secure the group stage more so than it does secure those first 9 points in the league, because
give me those 9 points, man.
I mean, I'm all about it too.
We should be able to play a team of kids, and that sounds so disrespectful, but we should be able to field a really mixed team and coast.
Whatever we just put against Novara should be enough for Rovers.
Yeah, it's probably that level. And again, I don't want to sound disrespectful and it bite me on the ass if we lose 1-0, but it is
That's
what it is.
That's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for those people who are saying that, I just don't think the starting 11 will look tons different. Now, yes, post-COVID, we were on Scudetto pace, but there's still things we've got to see if we carry that on and that kind of stuff. If we address that right side, so we manage to get in a new right back, we manage to get in a new centre back who will actually get a lot of minutes and could develop into a starter. And if we manage to get a new right winger, then we're talking, because these are upgrades, big upgrades on what we have. Upgrades are upgrades. You could say Tonali, Bakayoko upgrades on Krunic and Belia, which they are. Depth is important, blah blah blah. But that starting 11, that main starting 11 that we have, if we do things on that right side, then I'll start to get very excited about where this team can go. And I think they will fight for top 4 regardless with how we are at the moment. But who knows? And the guy that everyone's talking about is Federico Chiesa for the right wing. I mean, it started a few weeks ago. I think we talked about it as kind of a fantasy move. But it's got a little bit more serious in the last couple of days, definitely. I mean, Mediaset, big pinch of salt with this, but said that we're using Ramadani, the agent Fali Ramadani, to our advantage. And we put forward an offer of, I think it was Paqueta plus 20 mil. Yeah, Paqueta plus 20 mil to make it up to around about 45 mil, and then some bonuses to make up the 55 mil that Fiorentina want for Chiesa. Are you buying into the hype? Would you put that kind of thing on the table for a player like him?
So I'm going to give my answer in 2 parts. I don't think he is as great a player as the hype says. However, I don't think he's being overpriced, and I do think he would improve us substantially in the area that he plays. I'm wary of it because I think people are going to expect him to come in and be a world beater, and that's just not the case. But I do think he's an improvement from Suso. I think he's an improvement from Salamakers and Castillejo and probably Brahim Diaz. Then there's some rotation there. But it's a position we need, and I wouldn't be mad if that's the position we invest our entire transfer bucket in. I mean, if we're looking at one big signing, which is what the rumors have been saying, I foresee it to be in that position. Or center back. The other one we've been linked with is Fofana, and I'm all for that as well. But I think the right wing is one of the most crucial spots. So if we're going to drop 35 on him or 45 or whatever it is, I'm okay with it.
If we do drop that kind of money, it will be because of 2 reasons. One, because Pioli really wants him, and they've worked together at Fiorentina. They worked together for a couple of years. I'll come on to that. And it will be because Maldini approved the operation. And given his business dealings so far in his position, we don't really have a reason to doubt that.
Right.
I think there'll be a lot of caution. If we are to pursue something, then I think we will try and make it as much on our terms as possible. And again, I'll come on to the potential structure of the deal. But just to address the people, I've seen so many people say he's overrated that makes me think maybe he isn't rated. If a player is completely called overrated,
right,
the whole time you think, well, maybe, is anybody actually rating him as this big? But for people who were saying that, 2017-18, which was considered by most to be his big breakout year, 6 goals, 5 assists in the league. 2018-19, he had 6 goals and 3 assists in the league. Last season, 10 goals and 6 assists. It was a noticeable progression in his attacking production. Mm-hmm. And yet people are talking about him as if he's had a bad season. He's 22 years old. He's 4 years off his prime. He's an established Italy international. I'm not saying that justifies a 60 million price tag. And I think that his actual performances as a whole this season haven't been as dazzling. But if we line up next season with the front 4 players of Chiesa on the right, Rebic on the left, Çalhanoğlu down the middle, and Ibra up front, that this season would have got us 40 goals.
Yeah, I think having a striker like Ibra with Chiesa, his assist tally is going to go through the roof. And probably his goal tally as well. I do think he's got the talent, and he's obviously a good player. He's producing numbers, like you said. But maybe it's because of the price tag that people think he's overrated, because in Italy we're not used to these astronomical transfer fees. Like in the Premier League, you're seeing, Chilwell going for almost 60 million, insane numbers. But
made by Huddersfield Town.
I'm not saying he's good, so but I just the numbers that they put forward for homegrown talent is so significantly high, and we see that. So in Italy, we're used to like
Rice, 80 mil.
Yeah, come on. You look in Italy and you're like, okay, Tonali, we're going 35 mil, and he's supposed to be the next best regista for the next 20 years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's insane. And so when you see a price tag like this attached to someone, Serie A fans naturally like, no one's worth that money. It's just not going to happen. But maybe he is, you know? So we'll see. I think maybe that's why he's being called overrated.
Mm. Yeah, and before we get too long and people start losing focus, there was, in terms of the intrinsic economics of how this deal might work, there is something that could work in our advantage. So this was tweeted by a guy called Felice Raimondo. He's got a few books out about football finances. He knows what he's talking about, but he's a Milan fan, and he was looking into how the Chiesa deal might work. But he reckons that essentially we can use Fiorentina's clause on Rebic to our advantage to get Chiesa. So the idea would be that we would talk to Fiorentina and we would say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to offer you Paqueta, who might be valued at 25 mil, plus 17.5 mil cash. And then what we're going to do is we're going to buy Rebic outright for 25 mil, and you'll be getting 12.5 mil from Frankfurt for that. So that's an indirect way of giving them an extra portion of cash towards the deal, but then we also get Rebic out of it. So like we're getting two players at a slight discount essentially, which works so well for us. Whether they bite on that, we don't know, but talked about it so many times. I don't understand how Rebic's resale clause would factor into a deal for Milenkovic or for Chiesa or for Vlahovic, anyone that we've been linked with. But now I get it. It's like we're saying to them, we're going to pay this money for him. You're going to get another 12.5 mil. But, if you don't deal with us for Chiesa, then we'll agree something with Eintracht where we only buy him for 10 mil. So you get a lot less money. There are ways we can dangle that as a carrot, which I like. I think it'll be a last day of the window operation. I think there's probably three things that factor in our favour for Chiesa. One is his contract situation, runs until 2022. So if you hang on to him, he goes into next summer with a year left on his deal. And he's not going to sign a new one. I think he wants to move on now. I think he wants to be playing Champions League football, whatever. The second thing is Ramadani. Very, very good negotiator and intermediary in deals. He's close to Chiesa's father, who is essentially his agent. And he's also close to Fiorentina, which is good news for us. And I think the third thing is Camiso kind of works in our favour as well. The reason being that he's doing everything that I kind of want him to do in the media if we are serious about him. Like, apparently he's saying that he wants 90 mil and it's dropped to 70 mil and all this kind of stuff. Good, because it means nobody else gets involved. Right. Whereas we might already be in talks and nobody knows, and he's actually saying, right, we'll do a deal around this figure. It's kind of scaring off the competition, but if we think we've got an inside track, then that might be why we're doing it. But we'll see. There might be something more concrete on that next week. But for the time being, I guess we wait. But Fofana, I like that. I like that as a link. Yeah. The ideal, really, is probably to sell Musacchio by any means, but I really don't think he's going to go this summer because of his injuries out until November-ish.
I think the only way he leaves is if we terminate his contract. I just don't see anyone purchasing. Maybe we get him out on loan, but I'd be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, just anything that we can do to monetize him not being here would be good. And that sounds awful. He's not been a terrible servant to the club, but things soured a bit when his agent did that interview and spoke out about handling by the club. And it's like, he was starting games when he shouldn't have been.
Right.
We'll see. But yeah, the ideal is to have Romagnoli Kier as the pairing. We'll see what to do with Duarte. He didn't look great today in that friendly. Looked way off. But then
I honestly forgot about him.
Was playing in a really makeshift back four. So
also his first game in how many months?
Yeah, since
because he was out injured for like the last 8 months or something.
Yeah, he's had some long
pre-COVID.
absences.
He was injured, I think.
He had that torn Achilles tendon, had surgery to repair it, came back around the post-COVID time, and then got injured again for another month. But he's now back to. I think he just seems to be made of glass.
Yeah.
He hasn't been able to make the transition from Brazilian training methods to Italian training methods. Might be a generalization. Whatever reason, his body's not cooked. Patos couldn't either, for example. Things happen. And and then to add a young centre back who can step in and provide quality backup. Milenkovic was the guy, but I don't see a way that we land Milinkovic, and especially if they sell German Pizzella, the captain, they'll keep Milinkovic, I would assume.
Yeah.
But Fofana's not bad. I like Fofana. I think if St Etienne want 30 mil, my gut instantly is we can probably do something around 20. It's that kind of market. Liga is fucked financially. There's a lot of teams that are selling
Where
players
did
off.
Saint Etienne finish last season? I know their season's already started this year.
Good question. I'll have a quick look. But the thing I like about Fofana is that he's only 19, so there's plenty of room for him to grow. But he's already considered a top centre back and someone who is on France's radar internationally. You know, Arsenal were linked, and you might say that's good or bad based on their defensive scouting. But
they finished 17th last season.
Yeah, not great.
Just above the drop. So I mean, they could use some money.
Definitely. I'm sure Toulouse went down with 13 points from 28 games. That is appalling. Nothing left to lose.
Right.
Clever. Yeah.
That's the other thing I forgot. They only played 28 games. You know, they didn't get a full 38, so there's that also. But
regardless, you know, Fofana is seen as a big thing.
I've been a fan of him.
My number one target is always the guy I'm always going to bang on about is Marash Kumbula. I think he's the ready-made Serie A guy. In an impressive Hellas Verona team as well. The only thing is that they did play a 3 at the back a bit last season. So there'll be question marks about his ability to adapt. But in terms of price tag, I think he'd come in around about the same. And as I say, he knows the league and he's at that age where he'd be able to accept developing behind Romagnoli and Kier. We'll see. It seems centre-back is something that we're turning to now. And for the rest, it's going to be late market opportunities, I think. And stuff will come up. You know, something came up today about Gazzetta dello Sport. They said that Luka Jovic was discussed in the Brahim Diaz thing. And because things are so good and because we've agreed to this dry loan for the time being, they might also give us Jovic on dry loan for a season. Which is nice. Yeah, because, I mean...
But do we need that?
You can say, oh, it's not a long-term option. It doesn't fix anything. I mean, it's essentially someone we might only have to pay half his wages, let's say, and a very good backup to Ibra. You know, it would allow Rebic and Leao to focus on their positions, and it just pushes that problem a bit down the line, really, as well, because we're going to have to replace Ibra next summer. And who knows, we might, if Jovic does well, be able to just flip that money and say we'll take Jovic permanently. We'll see. But that's an interesting one. I think there is going to be a lot of weird late market opportunities because of COVID, and there seems to be the buyers and the sellers at the moment. And the sellers are going to get itchy fingers towards the end. They're going to pull trigger on deals that they might not have done last summer, for example. And the buyers, you know, Elliott are in a very strong financial position, as we know. I tweeted a little thread saying about how there are things that point towards us being able to spend a fair bit this summer. One of them being that we don't have to negotiate a new settlement agreement with UEFA until 2021. And FFP is basically suspended until then anyway because of COVID. So we can do what we want without it biting us in the ass. And the second thing being that Elliott financially as a fund, as a group, have come out of COVID pretty well. And also, by nature, they are a vulture fund. So if they see other teams that are struggling to stay afloat, they're going to go and pick what they can, and they'll see an opportunity. They'll see an opportunity, which I think is important. So we'll see. Maldini said in his interview today that the owners are backing us because they want to build a team that's top 4 ready, and I like that. That's ambition. If that first press conference was managing expectations, there was a lot more optimism from what Maldini said today, and he wouldn't be doing that without. There's no smoke without fire.
Right. Yeah, you don't come out and just make those type of, not promises, but you don't set those expectations without genuinely having them as expectations.
And I will completely change my mind on Elliott's ownership of the club if they do go out and get us the other big names that we've mentioned this summer. But also need to remember the reason we stuck with Pioli was for continuity. We're not going for 5 new players in the starting 11. Just a couple of tweaks, nice depth. Bang, we go into next season and hopefully do the business. Right, we'll finish with a couple of questions. Joseph Calvo, so based on today, Roback and Kalulu, would you give him a chance in the senior squad?
Yeah, I thought Roback looked good. I thought Kalulu looked good. I don't know if they're going to start, but definitely. I mean, if we play 54 games this season or whatever it might be, why not give him some minutes?
I think people need to remember that Kalulu left Lyon because his path to the first team was blocked. There were 3 right-backs ahead of him in the pecking order. He was sick of playing UEFA Youth League games. He's come here because he thinks he's got a shot.
And I think he does.
I think he does too. I think this is a tryout for him in pre-season, and we'll see. If he follows it up with 2 good performances, plays well in the Europa League, let's say, he'll be knocking on that door because Conte and Calabria just didn't offer any assurances last season. Row back, it'll be tougher, I think. I just don't think at 17 he's physically there yet. He's got a lot of bulking out to do and a lot of fine-tuning to his game. I think Primavera will be good for him, but I wouldn't be surprised, like Luan Capani, to see him just tear it up.
Yeah.
To do really well. Darren Torres. So Bakayoko and Tonali arrive. Would you stick with the 4-2-3-1? And what would be your preferred midfield setup?
Yeah, 4-2-3-1. To be honest, I wouldn't change the lineup at all. Still Benacer and Kessié. It just, you don't change it. You know, it works so well until that starts dropping. Keep it as is.
Yeah, post-COVID, the single best thing about our team and about Pioli's system was the double pivot that Benacer and Kessié formed. They absolutely ripped teams apart, like literally ripped them apart. You know, we stopped Juve's midfield playing, we stopped Lazio's playing, we stopped Roma. You know, we did the business with those 2 there, and you don't change an engine room like that. Not saying it couldn't change down the line. Both start the season with bad form, whatever it might be. We'll see, but yeah, for now, that's what it is. And it's got to stay with a double pivot. I don't think we switch to a 4-3-3. Not when Bakayoko and Tonali are holding players anyway. You know, if we'd signed a creative player, if we'd signed a more forward thing, maybe, but not like that. I was meant to ask this one last week, and I'm going to throw it in as a final. Not a joke question, but it seems to be resolved anyway, but I'll ask. Johnny, who's at Visco Inc., says, basically, to cut the question down, would Andre Silva have actually been a really, really good backup striker for us this coming season?
Yes. I think he would. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, he'd fit right in, especially if we get the improvements in Chiesa and, you know, with Çalhanoğlu now playing how he was expected to play and the midfield that we have now, I think he would do bits. He'd be good. Bring him back.
He would.
That's my boy.
He would. Nah, I mean, I say I think it's pretty much resolved because I think that's a big thing he does landing Rebic, to be honest. They're more likely to give us him in unfavourable terms if they know that they're getting someone back. I mean, I know Andre Silva actually had a really good post-lockdown period. He was struggling a little bit up until then, but last season he scored 12 goals in 25 games, but I feel like a lot of those came towards the end of the season. So it's not a bad return, really. The thing that I've thought about on the back of reading that question is if Ranić did come and what would have happened then, you know, because it's a striker who's performing well in the Bundesliga in an Eintracht side that play good high-intensity football. You think he might actually fancy giving him a look in pre-season. You know, if you remember, he did get a look at the start of this 2019-20 season for us.
Right.
He did get games before he went late in the window. But yeah, I actually think he would be a good backup striker, but I don't think he's in the mood to be a backup anymore, Andre Silva.
No, he wants to start. I don't know if he deserves to start, but he's definitely... I mean, he's getting to the point of his career where he needs to be.
Yeah. He is, 100%, yeah. But yeah, I also think mutually beneficial deal. We need to get Rebic because he was our top scorer last season. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's it. I've no idea how long we've been talking shite for.
Timer says an hour 4, but we had some junk we said that's probably going to get cut off prior to starting, so I don't know.
I hope it doesn't.
It's going to.
For various reasons. Yeah, I think you'll sleep well tonight on your mattress anyway.
I will.
But yeah. Yeah, thanks for everyone if you managed to listen to it this far. And hopefully next week we'll have some actual pictures of players holding Milan shirts to show.
Oh, one thing we didn't even talk about. Zlatan renewed, number 11.
That feels like so long ago now.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh, man. So,
yeah.
Zlatan renewed, signed a new 1-year deal. Talked about the fact that he might switch to a 9 or 11. And in the end, he picked 11. He basically confirmed it on social media and then confirmed it on an Instagram live, like put the shirt in the car and all that. We knew he was renewing. Everyone said there was optimism. In the end, we backed down. You know, he said, I want 7 mil net. We said 5. Then we said 6. And then we said, all right, you've got your money. 1 more year. Let's do this. And he seems motivated. He did a really, really good. He did an interview with Milan TV for the sound bites about how he's not here to, you know.
Not here to be a mascot, here to win.
To win things. And then he did a really good follow-up thing where he was very humble, where he said about how he feels at home at Milan. The first time he's ever smiled while he's been doing his work. He thanked the management for putting faith in him and that sort of stuff, which was nice to see. Seems fired up, which is also what we like to see. There's no real downsides to this. I mean, he's going to pay that salary back in shirt sales alone.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy another one. Like, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm about.
I'll point out as well now, thanks to the lovely missus, I've got the third shirt. And I must say, I said to you before we started recording this, the official graphics that they've put out, you know, like the grungy against San Siro background kind of stuff, doesn't do justice to how nice the colour of this is. Like, it's not blue, as people say. It's very turquoise. It's blue, teal, like bluey green almost. And then the pattern at the bottom. Yeah, that's the colour that they're using. And then the pattern at the bottom also looks absolutely sensational. I'm glad that the back is plain because it just makes the numbers pop as well. I'll see. I might actually go for a number and hope that they stay this time because the last times I've got Bonucci.
I got Higuain, Andre Silva.
Cutrone and Locatelli one season. I think I'm going to have to choose very carefully in terms of if I were to get a name. But I'm going to get the home shirt and then we'll see about the away shirt. I mean, that link was horrendous.
I won't be getting the away shirt. I don't even like the home shirt, but just because I want both a Tonali and a Zlatan shirt, I might get it.
There's some, there's some doubt about that came out. There's some people saying it's a dodgy fake and stuff that's since been mocked up to be because the original stuff that Footy Headlines leaked had that kind of pattern, you know, the Windows 98 pattern or whatever it was, with all the little interlocking squares and stuff. But it had it as like a grey colour and then sort of a red neck and a thing, and that would be better. I think that would look a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm hoping that's what it is. And that shirt might just be either a training shirt or it might be, like say, a bad fake that's since been taken as gospel. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, because the home and the third are spot on for me. Puma have done a really good job across all clubs. I must say, Man City have 3 really nice shirts this season. Marseille in particular. You don't like the Man City one?
I don't like the third kit. I'm not a fan of the Paisley. Doesn't do it for me.
Well, you like it when Messi wears it?
Yes, I will.
You see, they're going to make him an owner of the club, basically, for him to join. It's like 50%.
You know how that started, right? It was
that fake Barca center account.
And it got picked up by everyone. And now it's like being reported. So whatever.
Maybe City saw him like, that's an idea. We could do that.
Yeah.
It's on that 600 million deal, and then you go 3 years City, and then you go and do 2 years at
New York City FC.
New York City, yeah.
I did see Messi's dad landed in Barca today to talk to the management.
Yeah, and he said the only thing that he said to any media about it is he was asked about Messi's future at Barca, and he just said difficult, and that was all that he said. So that implies to me that it is real.
Oh, it's 100%.
I was willing to put my balls on the line
facts.
and say
they leaked the picture of the facts.
But it is like it's a phallic kind of thing to do, innit? You know, it's sort of, you could see a situation where Messi did it to get Bartomeu, whatever, to resign, and then he would end up staying, or it's a pressure movement to get the club to actually do things that he wants to do. And it wouldn't surprise me if he then ended up staying. Still wouldn't be surprised if he ended up staying and they resolved something. I think Koeman's probably going to do do wonders for them in terms of clearing out bad salaries and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, everyone, if he goes to City, I think it really does prove that everybody has their price.
Everyone.
Every single player in world football has their price.
I got mine. It's not even a lot. I'll go wherever.
So if you want to inquire, then DM at Torgrud45.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, Ibra renewed. I'm glad we got that in there. Otherwise, we'd have been hounded for that.
Oh yeah, someone would have asked.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, everybody. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher, being joined by the loyal Anthony Torgrud.
Yep, Torg45. We just said it, so follow me there. Cool. Until next time.
Yeah, catch you in a week's time, everybody.
Andrea Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!